2125 is the year. At the pinnacle of civilization is humanity. The equator is surrounded by orbital rings. Cancer has been cured. We can communicate instantly with settlements on Europa and Mars. Staring up at the black emptiness of space for the past century, we have been waiting for something to stare back. We constructed skyscraper-sized firearms. We constructed fleets of quantum AI-controlled drone ships. We got ready for a global conflict. We were ready for an advancement in technology. We anticipated gods. The Lunar Watchtower's sensors shrieked early on February 14th, 2125. A fleet had emerged from hyperspace. 3,000 vessels. Enormous, imposing. Half the world was scared by the shadows they cast as they hovered over the Atlantic. DEFCON 1 was attended by the United Earth government. The sky was the target of every weapon on the globe. We held our breath. We awaited the lasers. We awaited the surrender demands. However, nothing took place. Energy shields were absent. Our networks were not being hacked by broadcast beams. The ships simply drifted. The atmosphere was leaking from them. They were rusting. The globe didn't gasp in terror when our drones eventually came close enough to return high-resolution footage. Instead, we gasped in confusion. They weren't starships, they were arks. They were constructed from hollowed-out asteroids joined by rudimentary iron welding and frozen muck. They were drifting on the dying vapors of chemical rockers that looked like they belonged in a museum from the 1960s. They were not driven by antimatter engines. They weren't shot down by us. We apprehended them. We lowered them gently into the Pacific Ocean using tractor beams. We noticed them as the hatches opened. We would eventually refer to this species as the Changelings. They staggered out into the sunlight, trembling, squinting, and undernourished. They were dressed in tatters. They wielded bone spears. They lacked communicators and iPads. Their bowls were made of wood. They weren't intruders. They were refugees seeking a safe spot to sleep and a drop of water as they fled a dying solar system. And humanity was good for a fleeting, lovely moment. However, that was before to witnessing their capabilities. You must comprehend the Changelings in order to comprehend why things went wrong. They are an abnormality in biology. They are from a world where the climate is always changing, with severe heat, extreme cold, and predators everywhere. They gain flexibility from evolution rather than intelligence or tools. There is no set shape for a changeling. They resemble smooth gray clay in their original form. However, their cells react excessively. Their skin becomes granite-like when they come into contact with a rock. They become smooth and streamlined when they come into contact with water. It is a basic and uncomplicated survival mechanism. It comes naturally. However, they are in the dark ages of technology. They are ignorant of electricity. They were afraid of light bulbs when they initially came to our containment facilities. As though they were ghosts, they worshipped the automated doors. They are a feudal society made up of humble farmers and gatherers who were compelled to board the antiquated ships their ancestors built because they happened to be on a planet that was disintegrating. When they began attempting to get in touch with us, the issue started. There is no spoken language that we can readily pick up from changelings. They use bodily language. In order to express "I am safe," they imitate the form of a stone. They imitate the shape of a withered plant to express "I am hungry." Saying "I trust you" is another. They mimic you. Enter the politicians, specifically High Counselor Julian Vance. Before the arrival, Vance was polling at an all-time low. The economy was stagnant and people were bored. But Vance was a student of history. He knew that nothing unites a divided population like a common enemy, and he knew that fear sells better than hope. The changelings were the perfect enemy. They were different. They were numerous, 2 million of them. And most importantly, they had this terrifying ability to blend in. Vance started his campaign 3 months after the arrival. He stood on the floor of the World Senate and gave a speech that changed the course of history. He didn't talk about their lack of technology. He didn't talk about their starvation. He talked about the integrity of the human form. He said, "How can we be safe if we don't know who is walking beside us? How can we trust our neighbors if our neighbors might be things?" It was brilliant, evil rhetoric. He took their weakness, their lack of technology, and framed it as a disguise. He claimed that their primitive appearance was a ruse. He argued that no species could travel the stars without weapons, implying they were hiding something. "They are not refugees," Vance shouted into the cameras. "They are the ultimate spies. They don't need to hack our computers. They can just become our generals. They can become our wives. They can become our children." It didn't matter that it was biologically impossible for them to hold a shape for more than an hour without exhausting themselves. It didn't matter that they had the intelligence of medieval peasants and couldn't possibly understand nuclear codes or banking algorithms. The idea of them was enough to terrify the public. The media cycle took over. News outlets, looking for ratings, started running sensationalized segments. They found footage of changelings shifting in their sleep, a natural reflex, and played it in slow motion with ominous music. They interviewed experts who claimed the changelings carried diseases that could rewrite human DNA. Hate crimes skyrocketed. But in 2125, hate is sophisticated. We didn't just throw rocks, we used bureaucracy. The Identity Protection Act was passed. It forced all changelings to wear heavy shock collars that emitted a low-level disruption field. This field prevented their cells from shifting. It locked them into their natural, gray, featureless state. For a changeling, this is torture. Imagine being forced to hold your breath for years. Imagine being unable to shiver when you are cold or sweat when you are hot. The collars stripped them of their primary biological function. They were in constant pain. But the politicians spun this as safety. They told us, "We aren't hurting them. We are just making them visible. We are civilized people ensuring transparency." The irony was palpable. We, the humans with our cybernetic eyes and plastic surgery and genetic editing, were punishing a species for changing its body. We who live in virtual reality simulations were angry at them for being fake. Because they were technologically in the dark ages, they couldn't fight back on the internet. They couldn't make videos defending themselves. They couldn't write op-eds. They were voiceless. They were just huddled masses in camps outside the megacities, shivering in their collars, looking at our shining towers with confusion and sorrow. The tipping point came just a few months ago, the Sector 4 incident. A group of changeling teenagers found a way to disable their shock collars. They didn't use it to escape. They didn't use it to attack. They were starving. They used their shifting ability to turn their arms into long, thin hooks to fish for rats in the sewers beneath the camp. A drone patrol caught them. The footage was beamed live to the global networks. But the commentary wasn't, "Look at these starving kids." The commentary was, "Look, they have broken the security. They are weaponizing their bodies." Senator Vance, now running for global president, used the footage in a campaign ad. He slowed it down, made their arms look like claws, made their eyes look demonic. "If we let our guard down," the ad said, "they will consume us." The military swept Sector 4 the next day. They didn't bring food. They brought flamethrowers. They claimed it was a sanitization operation. We watched it happen on our high-definition holographic screens. We watched primitive beings, armed with sticks and stones, trying to defend themselves against plasma rifles. It wasn't a battle. It was a slaughter. And the terrifying part? The polls for Vance went up. 10 points, 15 points. The public didn't feel guilt. They felt relief. The politicians had successfully convinced the most advanced civilization in history that a bunch of starving, naked shapeshifters were an existential threat. They tapped into our oldest, most reptilian brainstem, the fear of the other. Here we are at the end of the story. We call them the Dark Age aliens. We mock their crude ships. We laugh at their wooden tools. From our towers of glass and light, we look down and feel superior. But who's really living in the Dark Ages? Civilization isn't measured by how fast your ships travel, how much data you store, or how high your walls rise. Civilization is measured by how you treat the stranger at your gate, by empathy. The changelings can change their shape, but not who they are. They are survivors. They are a people. They are a community. We humans, we refuse to change. We clung to tribalism, fear, and paranoia. We unlocked the secrets of the universe, yet our hearts are still primitive, banging rocks together in a cave, afraid of the shadows. When the last changeling dies, when the final trace of their kind turns to dust on a planet they never wanted to reach, we'll finally be alone. safe, and then we'll have to look in the mirror. Because unlike them, we can't change our faces to hide the monsters we've become. Thanks for watching. If this hit home, like the video and subscribe for more.